What's up everyone, Adrian here. It is currently Monday morning. Weather's nice and gloomy outside, just how I like it because it's very calm and relaxing. I don't have harsh sunlight hitting me straight in the face, and I have a nice cup of coffee just in front of me. But in addition to talking about my morning, what I want to talk about in today's video is the subject of accountability. Now this stems from a couple places, particularly last night when I was writing within one of my journals about the things that I did and what I was grateful for that day. Come to realize that I wasn't doing, I would say, enough for me to really get my creativity going and start getting posting back up again after creating a lot of South Korea as well as Indonesia content. But additionally, I just feel like accountability is one of those topics that's not talked about enough within the creative space. Typically what I see, whether it be like through reels or shorts or whatever it may be, is that consistency is one of the most key things when it comes to being a creative and just getting your name out there. And while I believe that is true, I also feel like accountability and making sure that you are keeping track of some of the habits that you're doing and acting on them is just as important as staying consistent in this whole creative journey. So that's what I want to talk about today, is particularly these guys. In my hands, oh, not this one. In my hands, over here, I have a bunch of journals. This is the Twone pocket notebook that I got off of Amazon. Normally you'd get these for like, I think a pack of 6 for like 12 or 15 bucks. So they're pretty inexpensive, and I got myself a couple other pens too. I have the black one version of this. This is the G2 Pilot pen. I'll get into that a little bit later on as well. But I want to talk about these notebooks in particular because to me, this is a physical representation of my accountability throughout the years of being a creative. And I just want to talk about more ways that we can use some of the tools that we have on our hand while balling on a budget and seeing how we can use them to really track our habits as creatives and see like what it is that we need to act on and pursue even more. While at the same time, we can use these notebooks to talk about ways that we can identify habits that may not be as beneficial to us, or maybe we need to reduce or just work around with, so that way we have time for not only ourselves, but for our creative passions and our goals. So with that in mind, the way that the video is going to be broken down is, in the first part of it, I just want to talk a little bit more about a story about like how these notebooks came to be and also just like why I started using them, not only for my personal life, but for my creative practice as well. Additionally, I want to talk about the products themselves. Now, this isn't to say that there's going to be a full-on product review of both the notebooks as well as the pens, but just thinking about it and in a way as like these are tools that you can use, or I use myself, but that you can use yourself too if you do want to go ahead and like make more trackable habits for yourself. Granted, there are a million other tools out there too, such as like digital or electronic means of journaling, to each their own, but I find that this is the most effective method for me. And then from there, we're going to talk about like some channel updates as well, and what we can expect what we can expect from this channel moving forward. If you also hear just some screeching in the background, currently it is garbage day in Santa Clara, so you're gonna hear the garbage man just pick up some trash along the way from our containers. But enough about that, let's get rolling. But before that, let's do this. It really wakes up the senses when I get some coffee in me. But I want to talk about this guy first. So on the short long of accountability, this is where it all started. There was a time in my life where I just felt like things weren't going right, and that was in the 3rd year of my undergrad. And I sought some professional help because I just felt like there was things going on with both my personal relationships, internally and externally, and just a hodgepodge of other things that accumulated together. So I sought some professional help, and I went to a facility where this instructor, among other students, was talking about ways of like self-care and just being more aware of like not only your person, but like things that you can do to change, so that way your person can like be more mentally and like mentally stable and happier. And each one of us, he gave this little booklet. Now I got blue because I love the color blue, but it's a gratitude journal over here. And the purpose of it, by the end of the class, was to write 2 things at minimum per day about what it is that we are grateful for. Now, I was a bit of a skeptic because although I sought help for it, I thought to myself in the moment of just like examining this little booklet, like, how is this going to help me? Frankly, I thought it was dumb and cringy, but at the same time, I just felt like I was reluctant to just see for myself like the actual words in my face of like what it is that was in a way troubling me and having to confront that. So I'd say like one of the first steps is always going to be the hardest steps to take when starting a new like endeavor or feat or whatever word you want to throw around it. But starting is just really difficult. So the first entry I made was back in January 26, 2021. And I would say that was one of the hardest things for me to do because even though it was just a minimum of 2 things, and by all means we could go ahead and write more, just thinking about that and sitting to myself for like 5 minutes, I was just like, what the hell am I going to write about? What is there to be grateful for? But at the same time, by overcoming that first hurdle and continuing to write into the journal more, I felt more comfortable with myself and also my writing and just seeing what it is that made me happy in those like 2 entries. Now, as I got more comfortable, the entries started to expand more. There's more that I wanted to write about, and it didn't have to be some grand old thing that I had to be like really proud of or just like be really just stoked about. Granted, it could be even the smallest things too, and I think that was something that this little notebook taught me, and just the habits of it is how do I just recognize and appreciate some of the smaller things in tandem with some of the bigger things too. So with all that in mind, eventually this lifespan of the notebook ran out and I had to get something for myself. Granted, I didn't write every day in this notebook, which kind of defeated the purpose of the exercise. Nonetheless, being able to complete this notebook was just one thing that I had to be really grateful for because I kept at it. And that right there was consistency at play, but at the same time, how does accountability play within this song and dance with consistency? And just by completing this all the way through, even though that I was writing it throughout the days, it just made me happy knowing that like I kept at it. Now, speaking of the lifespan of this notebook, eventually I had to move on to something else. Now, granted, I didn't really like the feel of this or the size of it, and I just felt like the line spacing was just a bit too thick for me. So I wanted something that was a little bit thinner on the line spacing, but just enough where like I can write a lot, but also like not too little. And it was wide enough and also mendable enough so that way I can go ahead and put it within really any kind of pocket, whether it be my back pocket, my backpack, just really take it anywhere. Mendable enough and also durable enough so that way it can survive some really harsh stuff. Maybe I might accidentally sit on it, or I can like throw it in a bag and who knows, I might like hit the ground or something. But there was a couple notebooks I went throughout the years, but eventually I landed on this notebook over here, and I love this one for a lot of different reasons. By all means, I will throw in the links to this notebook as well as the pens I'm going to be talking about within this video because I feel like that really helps me within my creative practice. But also, if you want to pick up yourself some really nice stationery and you decide that, hey, like this is something that I want to pursue for myself, by all means, you're not going to be losing out on much. It's a really inexpensive investment for both the notebooks as well as the pens themselves, so it's really nice. Additionally, the products are not sponsored whatsoever, but by all means, using those products links within the description below does help me and support the channel, so really appreciate that. But getting back into these notebooks in particular, the reason why I like these so much is because I feel like they provide enough lifespan for at least a month and a half, maybe even 2 months. Additionally, the line spacing on this is so much thinner compared to the really thick one of the original journal that I had myself, so that way I can write a bunch more within this notebook. And additionally, I have the paper's like a lot thinner compared to the thickness of this pocket notebook over here, so it doesn't feel like I'm carrying a brick within my back pocket. As for this one over here, it fits snugly into like most things, back pocket of jeans, or like say pocket of a a backpack or something, I can really take this notebook anywhere. And it's really nice because I feel that for me in my creative work, I need something that's accessible and also just mendable and durable enough so that way I can go ahead and access it and just write into it whenever I can. And by writing not only 2 things I feel grateful for each day, but expanding it to writing more about like what it is I'm doing for my creative practice just really helped me identify what kind of habits are going on within my life that help me pursue and continue and stay engaged with my creative passion. In addition to that, it's definitely expanded into saying like, how does this bring me happiness just within my personal life, or just identify and recognize trends within my personal life that I need to continue to act on so that way I can maintain this level of consistency. But it also helped me realize what are some things that I just feel like aren't allowing me to give time to myself or just the space for myself to be happy in a way. Now, by all means, this is a photography channel or a creative channel in the broad spectrum of things. Now, you know what this means. I've been talking for so long that normally I have a water bottle with me so that way I can go ahead and just like clear my throat. But coffee is a really good substitute, plus it's nice and warm, and it gives me caffeine, and I can think much more clearly. But yes, in addition to speaking clearly, I feel like seeing for myself what it is on a physical piece of paper, some of the things that I myself may have trouble just accepting or just feeling conflict about, is so meditating and so self-reflective, and it just helps me think clearly about like what are the next steps that I need to take for myself to go ahead and address some of the things that I either need to act on or some of the things that I need to just reduce back on, so that way it creates this nice fine balancing act. And I've been doing journaling for like this like really ever since like out of college, because that's when I started to feel like now that I'm out of a protected environment, that being school, I'm like more of an actual working adult where like now I have to go ahead and find a job or all the like, and it's a lot of things going on. So with all that, having something where I can actually sort out my thoughts just helped me out so much. And in speaking of sorting out different thoughts too, what I just love about these notebooks is that they come in a pack of about 6 or so. Again, like I'm going off the top of my head, it could be more, but I'm pretty sure 6 is the magical number coming off the top of my head. But I have these notebooks for many different things. So I have one for YouTube videos, I have one for photo and mobile video ideas. Hell, I even have some for nutrition, because there was a time where I was doing much more century riding or even training for century rides. I have one for collecting stamps from Japan when I went in October 2024. So I use them for a lot of different things, and they're not weighty whatsoever. So I can go ahead and load up on a bunch of them and use them for so many different intents and purposes, which I absolutely love. Granted, there are other tools that I use too. I use moleskins. This right here, I have a moleskin notebook. I absolutely love this thing too, and the color that it comes in. Just the downside with it is that it's really hard and thick. And also, I can stuff this with a lot of different sticky notes where I can start to label and identify a lot of things. However, I also feel like that adds to the thickness of the notebook too. Granted, it is very strong and durable for what it is, but comparing this thing to this thing, we're definitely comparing apples to oranges because this is so much weightier. Well, there are pros and cons with whatever tool that you use, but by all means, I use this for more stay at home, for more like writing down what my ideas are, or like what are some of the things that I need to do for like creating maybe a business or like an LLC or something like that. But yes, I also use this too, but I use this in mainly stay at home because I just feel like when I'm traveling, I am very much conscious about like how much weight I'm carrying, because I tend to carry a lot of stuff going to and from where I'm going, because I love souvenirs and I also love getting things for my friends and family. But yes, this one right here, it's more like general purpose all around. I write a lot of different things in here, so not really focused. But speaking of notebooks, I have this one too. So this one I got from a Tom Sachs exhibit over in Seoul, South Korea when I visited earlier last month at the time of this video. And I use this more for like a creative block and just talking about ways and strategies that I can go ahead and pursue something, whether it be like a post or a reel on Instagram, and really see like what the concept looks like on paper. And the way that I use this notebook too is that I don't tend to write most of my ideas as much as I do on, say, an electronic form. Typically, I use Google Docs, but now I've really shifted my focus to using paper relative to using an electronic means. I say that because, kind of similarly to using this notebook over here, I just find that I find more clarity and also just intentionality when writing within this notebook, because relative to using, say, an electronic notebook or using the Notes app on my phone, I tend to find that I can easily write a bunch of words, really just word vomit, but at the same time, it's really easy to backspace, Control Z, delete a whole paragraph, sentence, whatever it may be. And I just felt like that act itself didn't allow me to be as engaged with what it is that I'm trying to work on. Now, when it came to the physical act of writing, there's a lot more intention with it because you have such a finite amount of space where now every word matters, and there are times where there were sentences or thoughts where I had to scribble out through. I couldn't just leave it there, I couldn't backspace, I couldn't Control Z. So, by being so much more intentional and engaged with the craft and the art of writing, I was more engaged with my creative passion, and then from there, I felt so much better about myself knowing that like I can go ahead and really see for myself what it is that is driving me forward. And that's when, tying into the notebook thing, I can go ahead and take that consistency and accountability into account, because now I can write to myself like, hey, this is what I really thought about and wanted to act on. And this is some of the content that I want to be able to share with you guys, so that way you're much more informed about some of the things that I'm going through myself. Because we're all creative to some degree. By all means, I feel like everyone can be creative. It's just a matter of like making the time and space for it. That's a separate topic for itself too. But yes, speaking on just the physical act of writing, I think is much more powerful, much more intentional, and much more engaging than versus something of like writing within the notebook itself, a digital copy itself. Granted, there are pros and cons of just writing digital. You don't have to worry about the paper aspect of it. It's very accessible as long as you have an internet connection or some kind of connection to like save and upload some of your findings for yourself. But I just feel like by being so intentional with what we are engaged with, like we are much more easily recognizable of like our crafts and like what our strengths are and like what it is that we're trying to pursue for ourselves and our creative goals. Speaking of writing within these notebooks too, something else that is really important in keeping up not only the consistency aspect of it, but the accountability aspect of it, is having them be accessible. So that's another pro that when it comes to using an electronic form, is it's so much more accessible than having something more physical. But what I do for myself to keep things as accessible for me and hold myself accountable to the things I do is that I go ahead and place one of these notebooks in like my immediate line of sight or field of vision and have it be within arm's reach, so that way by the end of the day or like when I have something going on, I can just go ahead and grab one. So like here, this right here, I got this little board from IKEA. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce the name because my pronunciation of it is like really bad, but this board from IKEA, really cool. Definitely invest one for yourself. It fills up space really nicely, and it's very aesthetic. I'll go ahead and drop the link to that in the description below. But that sound right there, that's the sound of me being engaged with myself. So I started a new notebook earlier this month. Yes, earlier this month. It is September currently, so that way I can go ahead and just continue to write out thoughts, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like what I write into it for my Taiwan trip that's coming up. I'll get into more of that a little bit later on, but what I love about it is that I have not only this notebook, but I have the pen as well. So like I mentioned, I have a red as well as a black pen. Both of these are Pilot G2s. One is a 0.5, one is a 0.7. I like using a black one because by all means, it really goes with everything. You can go ahead and toss this into any kind of notebook or even any kind of bag. This comes in a pack of, I believe, 6 or 8. I also got this off of Amazon too. But I just feel like 0.5 is just enough for me. 0.3 is a little bit too fine at times. 0.7 is just enough at times when I really want to bold or highlight something. But when I'm casually writing with a 0.7, I just feel like it's too thick. But 0.5, really nice middle ground between both thicknesses. Now, like I mentioned, black is really good because I use this for travel. I can go ahead and write, say, a check, or like I can go ahead and write, say, a form in case I don't have a pen on the place I'm going to doesn't have a pen on hand. Very useful tool. So always throw a pen within your bags. Very, very useful, but also useful because I can go ahead and slip this onto that notebook. Just really easy, accessible, and I can go ahead and just continue to write away instead of have to dig through cabinets or even like cups of just random like stuff to go ahead and like get a writing utensil. So accessibility, making the time for myself is just really important. Granted, kind of going back to not writing into that little blue notebook for each and every day, I just felt like the times I didn't write into it was a little bit of a cop-out because I had plenty of time on my hands. Granted, and guys, I love anime and just like reading and all the other things that come with entertainment, like movies and the like. So I really thought to myself, there came a point where I had to come to the realization and write to myself, like, if I have the time to go ahead and write within and see this, like, I don't know, 2-hour block of like watching anime or like watching this 2.5-hour block of watching a movie. Granted, I have 5 minutes to go ahead and watch. I have 5 minutes for myself to go ahead and write within this notebook. So, yeah, a realization that was a tough pill to swallow, but by all means, having 5 minutes out of the day or like around like more or less 5 minutes a day to just write out thoughts, just super important. Now I realize that this is a bit more of a lengthy video, so I want to go ahead and wrap it up too. I got most of my points that I wanted to convey across with using these notebooks and using these strategies and ways that we can go ahead and like advance as creatives. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the channel updates. As for what's to expected from this channel moving forward, I'm going to be going to Taiwan for about 3 weeks, so I'm going to be taking a break off of YouTube. Granted, I'm going to go ahead and post more of my activities within my 2 Instagram handles, YoKuyaAdrian as well as Kuya_Adrian. I will go ahead and drop those links in the description below, so that way you can go ahead and go to check out, see what I'm doing in that current space and time. But additionally, what I want to do following Taiwan is not only create more content related to that country, but talk about photography more and also provide more editing and tutorial tips, because by all means, like, October and moving onward was a unique time for me when I was starting out in photography, because I just felt like I was in a way lost or overwhelmed by the amount of resources, and there were some things that I liked a lot, but I just didn't find that there was enough, I'd say, easily accessible content for me, at least at the time, to see like what it is that I wanted to learn. So I will be providing more photo and editing tutorials. They're probably going to be a little bit longer, but something to look forward to if you want to go ahead and chill or like edit something really cool too. But with all this in mind, this is what you can expect from the channel moving forward in the next couple of weeks, and actually then the next month actually. And then from November onward, it's going to be heads down just like creating content and also just looking for myself like what it means to form an LLC. That's just been something that's been so interesting to me. So exciting stuff on the horizon. But with all that in mind, really appreciate you guys for sticking around, listening to my TED Talk, LOL. And until next time, I will see you guys around. So have fun, stay creative, travel, eat a lot, and yeah, enjoy life. So with that, peace out.